Network Entertainment.
The common practice or the commonly taught practice is avoid jargon, 'di ba? We've listened to so many people talk about science communication, yung best practices, and they say avoid jargon. Ako, that's a well-meaning tip. Okay, sige, gets ko yun. In the context of wag mong punuin ng jargon yung article. But I don't think you should avoid jargon entirely. Ang science literacy, kapag nilimit lang natin sa dapat puro simpleng salita lang kasi hindi kaya ng publiko yan. Feeling ko napakayabang na perspective niyan. Maaaring ang Pilipino ay may kakulangan sa science literacy pero hindi bobo ang Pilipino. Hindi tanga ang Pilipino. Kapag binigyan mo ang Pilipino ng enough materials and enough incentive na tumalino, ang natural curiosity ng Pilipino ay mananaig and they will be willing to learn more. So kailangan mo silang bigyan ng something, patikim. Yan ang tingin ko sa jargon. Parang patikim na, uy, medyo complicated term to ah. And then may explanation ka kung bakit and then that gets them further hooked into the topic.
Sa tuwing nagbabasa kayo ng mga research papers, nagtataka din ba kayo kung paano ito naisipan gawin ng mga researchers? Paano nila na-transform ang idea nila para maging isang actual na research project? Saan sila kumuha ng funding para magawa to? Paano nila nalaman na ang results nila ay pwede na nilang ipasa for publication? Dito, sa Behind the Science podcast, ay kakausapin natin ang ating mga Pinoy scientists para ibahagi hindi lang ang mga resulta ng kanilang pag-aaral, kundi pati na rin ang mga behind the scenes or behind the science stories nito. Simula sa kung paano nila ito naisipan gawin hanggang sa na-publish na nila ito. So this podcast is in partnership with the UP Resilience Institute, the Philippine Agricultural Scientist, the Philippine Journal of Fisheries, and SciEngJ. So ang UP Resilience Institute ay long-time partners na namin dito sa podcast. Nung nagsisimula pa lang kami, nandyan na sila para tumulong sa amin. At para lang sa kaalaman ng lahat, ako ngayon ay isang UPRI Research Fellow. The Philippine Agricultural Scientist is the first international journal in the Philippines and Southeast Asia in the field of agriculture. It is published by the University of the Philippines, Los Baños, College of Agriculture and Food Science. It publishes articles in the fields of tropical agricultural science and related areas including environmental science, food science, engineering, biotechnology, economics, rural sociology, development communication, agroforestry and silviculture, and marine and fishery science. The Philippine Journal of Fisheries is the official publication of the Department of Agriculture, National Fisheries Research and Development Institute. It covers all aspects of fisheries, both in basic and applied sciences, as well as related fields of studies such as capture fisheries, aquaculture, post-harvest technology, marketing and industry, ecology, oceanography, conservation, biotechnology, food safety, socioeconomics, and systematics in freshwater, estuarine, marine, and other identifiable water habitats. SciEngJ, formerly known as the Philippine Science Letters, is the official journal of the Philippine American Academy of Science and Engineering. It covers studies in the natural, physical, mathematical, computational, and social sciences, including those related to agriculture, health, engineering, environment, education, and technology. So kung may paper kayong gustong i-publish at pasok ito sa scope ng mga journals na ito, please consider submitting to one of them. At syempre, importante, take note na hindi kayo pwede mag-submit ng sabay-sabay sa 3 journals na ito. Kasi bawal yon. Dapat sa isang journal muna kayo mag-submit. At ang mga journals na to ay index na rin sa Web of Science, Scopus, ASEAN Citation Index, and sa Imago Journal Ranking. Kaya masisiguro nyo dito ang mataas na standard at mabusisi na review process para masiguro ang high quality papers na pinapublish. So if you're interested in publishing your research in one of these journals, check nyo ang guidelines at ang links ay nasa description. Magandang araw mga kapwa-siyentista at welcome sa isa na namang episode ng Behind the Science podcast. Ako si Paul Flores, ang inyong host, and our guest is the co-founder and editor-in-chief of Flip Science PH and the host of the Ask Theory podcast. His work as a freelance science journalist has appeared in various local and international publications, including GMA News Online, ABS-CBN News Online, Mongga Bay, Reporting ASEAN, and Nautilus Magazine. He has written and published books about media literacy, Filipino scientists, and science trivia. He also conducts lectures and workshops on science communication. So without further ado, let's all welcome Mr. Michael Angelo Francisco.
Okay. Magandang araw, Paul, and magandang araw sa lahat ng mga nakikinig, whatever time of day it is. Thank you for tuning in, and I'm excited to share what I can with all of you. So thank you for the opportunity to be on this podcast.
Ayun, so welcome sa podcast, Michael. At bago tayo magsimula, no, kung nag-enjoy kayo dito sa podcast at gusto nyo ang ginagawa namin dito, paki-like naman ang episode na ito at mag-subscribe na rin kayo sa mga social media platforms ng Behind the Science Podcast. May kita nyo kami sa Spotify, YouTube, Apple Podcast, and Facebook. Paki-rate na rin kami ng 5 stars para mas madami pa tayong maabot na audience. So ang topic natin ngayon, very special topic ito kasi pag-uusapan natin ay science communication. Kung paano ba mako-communicate ng mga scientists ang studies nila to the general public much better. And also, pag-usapan din natin yung history ng Flip Science and Ask Theory podcast. So sa listeners natin na matagal nang sumusubaybay dito, siguro alam nyo na yung OG talaga na science podcast sa Pilipinas ay yung kay Michael, yung Ask Theory podcast. At masasabi ko talaga na wala itong Behind the Science podcast at Liknayan podcast kung wala yung yung Ask Theory podcast. Sila talaga yung nagsimula nung science podcasting dito sa Pilipinas. So siguro in connection with that gusto ko lang makuha yung thoughts mo sa current podcasting landscape ng Pilipinas, and do you think may place ba yung science sa podcasting dito sa Pilipinas?
From the very start, I have been following Behind the Science at saka yung Liknayan. And every time may bagong episode, tinatry kong makinig at i-share. Every time magpo-post kayo na lumalabas kayo sa trending or kung ano man yung tawag ng Spotify doon sa ngayon, I haven't done this in a while, and we'll get into that maybe later. But every time natutuwa ako because really my opinion about the podcasting landscape here is that there are many podcasts that are focused on the light stuff, entertainment, things that make us happy, things that make us smile, very niche interests. There are some like horror podcasts, for example, but a lot of them revolve around entertainment. And I want to say na I'm not against I am absolutely not against entertainment. Entertainment is important. It's important for all of us. With all the horrible things happening around us, not just in the country but across the world. Like I don't have to go into all of that. You know, like you are listening right now, early 2026. You know what's going on, and it's just you wake up every single day and you just want to like have a few minutes ma-distract ka or mawala yung anxiety mo. But the problem, I think, is that we're a little too focused on entertainment. I think that, and it's not a problem in that actively nakakasama siya. More like the way I see it, it's wasted potential. It's wasted potential for podcasting, for these new platforms to communicate more informative content, to communicate more meaningful, let's say meaningful messages. Every time I do these science communication workshops for students, I tell them, kung hindi kayo confident magsulat, kung hindi kayo confident kahit mag-pick, kasi you can be a journalist who writes, you can be a photojournalist. Kung hindi kayo confident sa pictures nyo, sa pagsusulat nyo, why don't you try something like podcasting or communicating on TikTok, for example? Because I think yung reels, because there are a lot of content creators on TikTok na ang focus ay science, like medicine, diba, or biodiversity. And medyo with podcasting, vidcasting, the vertical format, medyo may similar, may overlap dun sa na yun. So parang try podcasting, try itong potential of having someone speaking to you organically, someone you can see na flesh and blood na tao, you can listen, mga experts who are able to share their learnings, because we all have only one life. We can only spend our lives learning or becoming experts at one or two things, no? But listening to other experts who are really good, really good at the things that maybe we don't understand that much, or maybe we're curious about, but we don't have the resources to actually go to the university or college to learn or to
Mm.
practice. Sobrang valuable niyan. And I think especially in the Philippines, there will always be room for more science podcasts. I don't think we can ever have enough science
Mm.
podcasts. This might sound like an exaggeration, but to me, ang lawak ng science. May physics, no? Meron nga,
Mm.
may pagko-communicate ng research, pero nasan yung podcast exclusively about biology, podcast about
Ah.
chemistry, podcast about this and that, about space. Ang ganda ng landscape ng podcasting sa Pilipinas because you can see from the statistics na maraming nakikinig sa podcast. Now for science aspiring or current science content creators out there, the challenge is to provide the podcast audience with science content to listen to tune into.
Actually, ang interesting nga ng punto na yun kasi dati, parang hindi ko matanda na anong year, parang 2023 or 2024, may isang month doon na tiningnan ko yung top podcast sa Pilipinas. Tapos ginawan ko, kasi top 200 yun, di ba, doon sa Spotify app. Ginawan ko ng pie chart yung kung anong klaseng category sila. Like,
Mhm.
yung comedy, horror, personal stories, self-help. Basically, doon nagre-revolve lahat nung lahat ng categories. Siguro may educational pero pag hindi ko rin ewan ko kung medyo bias lang ako pero pag
Hmm.
pinakinggan ko yung ibang nakalagay doon na educational yung category nila, hindi ko siya confidently naka-classify na educational kasi more on parang adulting life siya eh.
Yes.
Parang ano siya, more on social self-help, ganun. So for me, hindi ko siya kina-consider na educational. At yung nakita ko lang doon na science podcast na nandun ay yung kay Andrew Huberman, yung Huberman Lab podcast.
Mhm.
Hindi ko sure kung familiar ka doon. Pero medical related siya kasi professor siya sa Stanford. Pero medyo may mga bad reviews din sa kanya kasi nagpo-promote siya ng mga kung ano-anong products.
Yun lang.
Pero pag tiningnan mo yung Google Scholar profile niya, prolific talaga siya na scientist. Yun nga lang may mga kung ano-anong products na pinapromote. Pero sa
Oo.
Pilipinas nga na podcast, walang science at yun yung Ask Theory, yung pinakauna na podcast, I would say. And then siguro yung next question ko doon, paano ka napunta sa science communication? Can you share yung journey mo na ano yung college course na kinuha mo? And then, paano ka napadpad sa ginagawa mo ngayon?
Actually, naaliw ako or natutuwa ako tuwing may nagtatanong sa akin yan kasi I like to think na I'm one of the examples na anyone can that prove that anyone can do this. Kumbaga, isa sa consistent na gusto kong ipaintindi sa mga gustong gumawa ng science content or kahit man lang curious ay hindi nyo kailangan maging scientist or hindi nyo kailangan maging formally trained media person to do this. Kasi ang course ko nung college ako is communication research. More on statistics, more on, siguro this is an oversimplification, pero a typical career for someone like would be in like yung mga research firm or some media, pero more on like the behind the scenes work. No, not really the ones who are talking in front of the camera, but mostly the people who are analyzing the data and putting these things together. Now, kaya naman ako napunta doon actually kasi nung bata ako, mahilig ako sa science. Actually, pangarap ko, many of us start out as kids na mahilig tayo sa dinosaurs, pero I can say na ang talagang naging pangarap ko noon ay maging paleontologist. But yes,
Hmm.
but I grew up poor. We didn't have money, and realistically yung there are not a lot of opportunities for paleontologists here in the Philippines for many reasons. Hindi lang systemic kundi yung mismong topic ng pag-aaralan dito sa kalupaan ng Pilipinas, hindi siya basta, maybe that's a topic for a different podcast. Anyway, so hindi ko na ituloy yun. And also, I was kind of bullied nung bata pa ako. So, ang naging instinct ko ay, okay, ayaw nung mga taong gusto kong maging kaibigan ng mga mahihilig sa science. Ayaw nila ng mga nerds. So, susubukan kong lumayo sa science. Pero sabi nga nila first love never dies. So after and it's funny because after I graduated from yung course ko, Comres, I started writing for a pop culture website. So nagsulat ako ng film reviews, movie reviews, ganyan. And at the same time, I had a day job that had nothing to do with writing. But nagkaroon ng slot sa GMA News Online for a writer under the geeks and gaming section. So naisip ko nun, uy, okay to pwede kong gawing trabaho ang pagsusulat ng movie review, ng mga game reviews, ganyan. One catch, the geeks and gaming section was under the science and technology section, which at the time, GMA News Online, I think, had the first dedicated science and technology section. And the editor was my mentor and friend, si TJ Di Macali. Great science communicator. And nakapasa ako, nakuha ako as a writer for the geeks and gaming section. So I started writing reviews, ganyan. Pero part of my assignments kasi, magsulat din about science. And I was like, okay, subukan ko nga. Kasi, ano naman ako, I like science. Noon, yun pa yun ako. This was 2013, I like science. Until napansin ko, mas nagfe-favor na ako towards mga assignments na science kasi mas na-enjoy ko siya. And not to I hope this doesn't sound elitist or anything, but I felt na mas makabuluhan yung ginagawa ko by writing about science. Kasi napakarami na nagsusulat about entertainment. Hindi nyo na kailangan ng opinion ko tungkol sa kung anong pelikula ang papanoorin o kung anong TV show ang magandang panoorin dahil ang dami ng mga taong nagsusulat about it. Ang kailangan natin ay mas maraming tao na nagko-communicate about science. Para saan ba yung science yan? Para saan ba yung research yan? Bakit kailangan protektahan ng mga species? Bakit kailangan ganito? Bakit kailangan ganyan? Kung hindi natin gagawan ng tulay between scientists and the public, hindi natin maiintindihan bakit importante itong mga bagay na to and hindi makakapag-invest ang public emotionally, makapag-invest ng effort into helping scientists, helping each other with learning more about science and learning more about our planet, our reality. So from 2013 to 2017, I was writing for GMA, tuloy-tuloy lang yun. But I noticed, sabi ko, bakit parang lahat ng references ko ay foreign websites? Bakit walang Filipino owned or Filipino operated science news website? And so, actually, idea to ng partner ko. My wife, now my wife, but then my partner back then, idea niya yun, sabi niya, well, if you think there's a gap in the local media for science communication in the news, why don't we make our own website? Kaya ako we co-founded, the two of us, co-founded flipscience.ph, which from 2017, July 2017, nagpa-publish kami ng news, features, and trivia about science na for the Filipino audience. Now, fast forward to 2021. Ito na yung kwento ng Ask Theory. 2020 nagka-pandemic. So no more face-to-face interviews for now, walang labas-labas. And I felt like okay, ano ba yan? Medyo na halt yung aking science communication journey. So yung wife ko ulit ang nagka-idea, sabi niya, wala pang podcast dito na science eh. Or kung meron man, parang isa o dalawang episode, tapos nawawala sila, parang ganun. Merong mga noon, pero wala na sila ngayon. So parang sabi ng wife ko, why don't we build our own science podcast? And then the Ask Theory podcast was born, which was yung initial mission ng Ask Theory podcast is to talk to one Filipino scientist per episode to be able to help them or give them a platform, not help them. I meant give them a platform to talk about their science in a relatable way, to share with audiences, lalo na yung mga and this is reflected in our listenership. Karamihan ng nakikinig sa amin noon high school and college and young adults. So parang ito, 'di ba, yung mga naghahanap pa, nag-iisip pa ng path nila sa science, maiintindihan nila, for example, kung ano ba ang employment opportunities ng isang physics graduate. Teacher ba talaga? Kailangan ba physicist? Or meron ba tayong sa mga bandang data? May sa field ng data analysis, meron ba tayong niche dyan? Or bakit ba kailangan ng Space Agency ng Pilipinas? Magpapadala ba tayo ng astronaut sa space? Yun ba yun? But for about 160 episodes of the Ask Theory podcast, we were able to do that. And then may ilang episodes na ako na lang yung nagsasalita. Some of my thoughts, my essays on the state of science in the Philippines, some science-related topics. And that's how the Ask Theory podcast was born. And Basically, it had a good first season. We are thinking of bringing it back for a second season. Medyo ang naging problem kasi I'm kind of an introvert. So, yung energy ko, I could only sustain it for 160 episodes na consecutive, and I said I had to take a break.
Madami
And
na rin yun.
oo. And ang saya ko dahil nung sakto nung medyo nagpahinga yung As Theory, lumabas nga si Behind the Science, lumabas si Liknayan. Sabi ko, tuwang-tuwa ako dahil kailangan merong science option ang podcast listeners ng Pilipinas. Hindi tayo dapat mawalan ng science sa podcasting scene. So I'm very happy, and again, I might sound like a broken record, but please, if you're listening and if you're thinking of making your own science podcast, if you're not a scientist and if you're not a journalist, it's okay. The only commitment that you really need to be able to do a science podcast worth listening to is your commitment to evidence and getting to the truth as close as possible, to not misrepresent the science, to not over editorialize, but to present science in a way that's easy to understand for someone with no science degree. As long as you stick to that, kahit hindi ka scientist, kaya mo mag-science podcast.
Ang interesting nung sinabi mo na yung background ng Flip Science kasi sinimulan niyo siya ng wife mo. So at that time ba pareho kayong nagtatrabaho sa sa GMA News Online?
Hindi. Si wife ay social media manager. Mas siya sa digital marketing ang specialty niya. Ako yung medyo talagang mas sa writing. So, si wife actually, I always say na she's the brains of this operation. Ako yung parang tagagawa lang. Pero yung mga big ideas talagang galing sa wife ko. So, ganyan. So, we kind of made a really good team that way.
Ay siguro balikan ko lang din yung sinabi ni Mikael na yung boss niya dati sa GMA News Online, si Sir TJ Di Macali. Actually, hindi na buo itong podcast na to kung hindi din dahil kay Sir TJ. Kasi si 2023 yata, naging head siya ng Science Communication Team ng College of Science ng
Yes.
UP Diliman. And then nag-reach out siya sa akin. At that time, yung page pa na ginagamit ko ay Marine and Earth Science Learning Hub.
Yes. Oo.
So nag-reach out siya kung pwede kami gawa ng collaboration. Tapos doon nabuo yung idea na gawin yung podcast. Tapos yung idea at that time, mag-i-invite ng faculty sa bawat institute doon sa College of Science. Kaya kung titingnan niyo yung first 10 episodes ng podcast na to ay partner namin yung College of Science. Then eventually umalis si Sir TJ dun sa sa UP. Nawala yung partnership with CS pero nag-open up din yon ng opportunity na mag-partner din kami with other institutions. So ayun, very in a way connected or parang it's a small world. Yung naman, siguro before we dive deeper, siguro define lang natin ano ba talaga ang ibig sabihin ng science communication. When we say science communication, what does it actually mean? Nagsusulat ka nung mga simplified explanations ng mga scientific concepts, gumagawa ng video. What does it actually mean?
Okay, so and this is I'm not an academician, just for listeners, I'm not a teacher. So if there's any other more formal definition of science communication, I will yield to that. Kung ang sinabi ng professor niyo ay ito ang science communication at mali ang si Mikael, maniwala kayo sa professor niyo, wag sa akin, because this is my take on science communication as someone who has been communicating science for 13 or so years. For me, yung science communication is the bigger umbrella of everything we do to communicate science. Whether you are a science journalist who writes news or features about science, or a science podcaster, gumagawa ng podcast about science, maybe a documentarist, ganyan. For me, all of that is under science communication, and meron din mga nagsusulat ng more academic sounding papers, more formal language, yung talagang scientific writing. Science communication din yun. Kasi ang science communication, really, it is about communicating science, but you have to communicate according to your audience. So for example, kung nagsusulat ka ng formal papers ng mga scientific research, syempre ang magbabasa niyan mga kapwa mo sa academe, mga kapwa scientists mo. So the language that you use in writing those papers is more of a scientific language, and very structured siya. you have your methodology, for example, and then yung mga results, and then the discussion, blah blah, conclusion. You have the abstract at the start. This is like the standard format for academic writing. Whereas halimbawa, for a science journalist who communicates science, but for a wider readership, presumably for people without a science degree or background, mas ano yan, storytelling. Because how can you get people interested in a very in a technical topic if it doesn't relate to them or connect to them on some level, typically emotional. May intellectual, yung intellectual curiosity, but mostly it's emotional. Like for example, bakit contaminated ang tubig sa aming lugar? And then you do your investigation, and then you write about the different possible scientific explanations behind it, na kasi yung pinagmulan ng tubig, yung pinagkukuha ng source niya, ganyan-ganyan. Yung filtration system, luma, hindi naayos. And then may na-uncover ka na problem na kailangang ayusin, and then you report that too. So may science siya na grounds, pero hindi ka nagtuturo ng science dun sa nagbabasa. More like you're helping the person understand the issue better by injecting science into it. And then meron naman mga science explainers like ano ba ang photosynthesis, and then you have your like 3-minute video on photosynthesis, ganyan, or ano ba ang osmosis, ganyan. Or ano ba itong mga ano ba ang ilang-ilang, bakit ba ito natatagpuan sa Pilipinas, ano ba ang special dito, etc., etc. Iba-iba, but everything that we do that deals with communication and science, I think na under the umbrella of science communication.
Naalala mo pa ba yung very first science communication article na sinulat mo for GMA?
Yes. And ano siya, hindi ko inakalang magiging science angle siya. I would say the very first science article that I wrote for GMA was this entertainment list type article. Na I think yung topic ko is the 6 unlikely people that you want on your team in case of a zombie apocalypse.
Yeah.
So, 'di ba, nung time na yun kasi sikat na sikat yung Walking Dead, yung mga zombie movies.
Okay.
So, pinitch ko yan sa editor ko, sabi ko, magsuot kaya ako ng topic tungkol sa zombies, ganyan, sa zombie apocalypse yan. Kasi syempre, na-imagine mo zombie apocalypse team, kailangan may doktor ka, kailangan meron kayong may hawak na palakol, kailangan meron kayong magaling bumarel, blah 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 blah. 'Di ba? Pero sino yung unlikely? So you'd be surprised na ang mathematician pala ay very useful on your team in a zombie apocalypse. So if you wanna see what I ended up writing, 'di ba? Actually, ang tagal na nung article na yun, so hindi ko na maalala how I explained it. Pero yung 6 na yun, kasama yung mathematician, if you nag-plug, if you want to see yung reasoning ko behind it, I recommend that you look up yung article ko na yun. 6 unlikely people you want on your zombie survival team. It's on GMA News Online. So I think that's my very first parang tangential or may connect sa science na article. And ang saya ko na nagawa ko siya. And ayun, and then that opened the floodgates for many other articles na mas naging science na, until nagsusulat na ako ng talagang science news, science features, and so on and so forth. I even made a science article about the science of Deadpool. So if you nung time nung movie, so if you're a fan of Deadpool and you want to like see the science behind yung regeneration niya or yung weapons niya, that might be an interesting article for you guys. Anyway, yeah.
Curious din ako kasi 'di ba ngayon ang daming balitang lumalabas na mababa yung scientific literacy ng mga Pinoy. Do you think yung mga ganitong klaseng platforms, ito yung ginagawa natin na podcasting, yung mga pag-share ng mga scientific information, yung paggagawa ng mga TikTok or short form videos, tingin mo ba makakatulong din yun sa mga sa pag-educate ng mga Pinoy? At ano yung nakikita mo na parang long-term benefit niya?
Okay. So for me, ano yan, double-edged sword. Bakit? Yes, definitely nakakatulong ito. Ang caveat dyan is kung tama yung kino-communicate na science. Earlier, I said na you don't have to be an expert to communicate science, but I have to stress that you have to care about accuracy. You absolutely have to care about communicating things correctly. You have to be willing to admit when you are wrong, when you don't know something, when you have to talk to an expert. Kung hindi mo magagawa yan, kung papasok ka sa science communication, sa paggawa ng science content at gusto mo lang magpakitang gilas kung gaano ka kagaling, please wag ka nang pumasok dahil malaki nga ang problema natin sa science literacy. Maaring until makapag self-reflect ka, maaring imbis na makatulong, makapinsala ka pa. But on its own, as it is, yes, science podcasting, science content on TikTok, on social media can help. The limitation here, aside from, let's not kid ourselves. Yung science, kaya nating i-explain naman in ways na maiksi. But we cannot oversimplify science all the time. Mayroong mga concepts ng science na hindi mo madadaan sa 3-minute TikTok lang. Meron at meron talaga. So, science communication on these digital platforms must not be a replacement for science education. Furthermore, hindi lahat ng tao sa Pilipinas, hindi lahat ng kabilang sa may problema sa science literacy ay may access sa mga platforms na ito. At kahit sabihin natin na may access sila sa TikTok, hindi rin naman guarantee na they will watch the science content that pops up on their feed. Kasi maaaring hindi sila interesado. So, basically, while science communication on these platforms is a valuable auxiliary tool, that sometimes can even do the heavy lifting, to be honest. Marami ako nakikitang mga discussions online na parang feeling ko, oy, medyo tumatalino ang discussion dahil mas informed na ata ang public. While it is an auxiliary tool, the real root of the problem of scientific literacy in the Philippines is a weak scientific education backbone. And that is the systemic problem that we have to fix. And maybe through science podcasting, science communication, we can draw more attention to that problem. So maaring tayong mga podcaster, hindi tayo ang magsosolve ng problema ng science illiteracy sa Pilipinas. Pero tayo ang magtatawag ng atensyon na merong ganitong problema at kailangan itong isolve ng pamahalaan ng mga namamahala sa edukasyon sa Pilipinas.
Siguro balikan ko lang din yung sinabi mo na may mga scientific concepts na hindi mo talagang ma-oversimplify kasi sa akin kasi siguro everyone knows na researcher ako, practicing research. So parang yung mentality ko lang palagi siguro dapat hindi tayo mag-shy away sa mga technicalities, mga scientific terminologies kasi yung analogy ko diyan, pag ikaw estudyante tutungtong ka sa bagong grade level, mag-aaral ka ng bagong subject, may something new ka talaga na may encounter. Siguro ganun din sa science na pag may complex na term, dapat wag ka rin matakot na maging open ka din sa na matutunan 'yon.
Tama, 100% agree. I like to think about it this way. Pag nagsusulat ako ng science articles, sinasabi nila the common practice or the commonly taught practice is avoid jargon, 'di ba? We've listened to so many people talk about science communication, yung best practices, and they say avoid jargon. Ako, that's a well-meaning tip. Okay, sige, gets ko yun. In the context of wag mong punuin ng jargon yung article. But I don't think you should avoid jargon entirely. 'Di ba kapag para sa mga gym buffs out there, mga taong nagwo-workout, hindi ba kung isang taon lang kayo nagbubuhat ng 10-pound na dumbbell, hindi lalaki ang muscles nyo, hindi magbi-build, because the reason why your muscles grow is because they're given enough time to rest to grow. Why do they need time to rest? Because while you are lifting, na-challenge yung muscle, they rip, they tear, and when you rest, when you have proper intake of protein, of carbohydrates, and when you rest, that's when the muscle builds up. But when you stop challenging your muscles when they've built up, magpa-plateau yung progress mo. In the same way, ang science literacy, kapag nilimit lang natin sa dapat puro simpleng salita lang kasi hindi kaya ng publiko yan. Feeling ko napakayabang na perspective niyan. Ako, maaaring ang Pilipino ay may kakulangan sa science literacy pero hindi bobo ang Pilipino. Hindi tanga ang Pilipino. Kapag binigyan mo ang Pilipino ng enough materials and enough incentive na tumalino, ang natural curiosity ng Pilipino ay mananaig and they will be willing to learn more. So kailangan mo silang bigyan ng something, patikim. Yan ang tingin ko sa jargon. Parang patikim na, medyo complicated term to And then may explanation ka kung bakit, and then that gets them further hooked into the topic.
Sa akin, siguro side comment ko lang 'to. Para sa akin medyo vague din sa akin yung terminology na jargon kasi
Mm.
it relies sa ano, yung familiarity mo dun sa terminology.
Yes,
At kung hindi ka talaga familiar dun sa term na yun, jargon talaga yun
talaga
for
siya.
you.
Correct.
Pero kung nagiging part siya ng everyday language mo, hindi na rin siya nagiging jargon, parang gano'n.
Tama.
So, yeah. Yung ano ba, yung question ko din siguro, sa Pilipinas ba merong kursong nag-o-offer na specialized sa science communication, or is it more of journalism and then nagiging specialization na lang yung science communication?
From my understanding, there are some, and don't quote me on this guys, pero from what I know, there are some universities, mostly in Luzon, who have started to offer, if not courses, specialized science journalism or science communication subjects. Special mention would be yung development communication sa UP Los Baños, which are the folks at UP Los Baños are very active in promoting a culture of science communication in this country, and I really think they have to be recognized for that. Them and the many other institutions who are slowly building up. I believe, again, don't quote me on this, but I believe LaSalle, Ateneo, and UP are all currently working on their own, if not already established. Medyo hindi na ako in the loop about that. But when I started, wala. Nung nag-college ako, nung nasa college pa ako and nung tinuturo pa yung journalism subjects nung my time, which was more than a decade ago. Ang tanda ko na wala walang walang science communication subject, walang science communication na elective. I would have known, I probably would have been curious enough to take it. And in other parts of the country, may initiatives then to incorporate science communication into universities. I've talked to schools in Davao, for example, and they're really interested in bringing together, putting together a curriculum that incorporates science communication. Pero sa ngayon, aside from those handful of Luzon-based schools, wala pa akong naririnig masyado na nag-o-offer talaga na formal education ng science psychob.
Ang alam ko nga meron sa ano, sa Ateneo, kasi si Cami
Hmm.
Navarro yung co-founder nung
Yes.
Pinoy Scientist na page. Sa Ateneo siya nag-masters, 'di ba, on science communication. Ayun.
Yes.
So siguro speaking of yun nga, yung training sa science communication, sa experience mo, ano yung napapansin mo na very common, kumbaga parang mistake ng mga scientists in communicating their science? Bakit madalas sila nami-misquote or nami-misinterpret?
Okay. So feeling ko dalawa eh. You can boil it down to two. Number one is a misunderstanding of the baseline. Number two, and I'm not saying na lahat ng scientists ay ganito, don't get me wrong. Number two is impatience. So number one, misunderstanding of the baseline. And I don't blame scientists kasi if you've been working with scientists and if you've been working on the science for 5 years or so, minsan yung baseline mo for what should be general knowledge, akala mo yun na yun eh.
Iba.
Pero minsan I've encountered mga scientists na pag nagtanong ako, for example, for an article, and then binigyan nila ako ng sagot, and then I ask them a little bit, could you probe could you explain this kasi hindi ko po maintindihan. Yung karamihan naman, oo, nag-explain. Pero yung iba parang may konting impatience, which is the second one, na parang I get the sense na feeling nila common sense na yung ano, but it's not. I do want to remind din yung scientists na while we appreciate, we love you for communicating your science, don't forget na yung baseline of understanding ng general science ng publiko ay hindi ganoong kataas. So, if you must use the simplest example, if you think na parang, I don't like to use the term dumbing down. I don't think it's dumbing down. It's simplification. It's making it more palatable. But if you can make your science more palatable with simpler examples, yung parang everyday examples, mas angkop yun. If you're explaining the biomechanical processes of a certain type of organism, ganyan, don't expect na yung mga tao ay familiar agad dun sa mga processes niya sa loob ng katawan niya na pwede niyo lang i-drop yung, feeling ko yun yung ibig sabihin ng mga nagsasabing jargon eh. Diba? Hindi naman siya jargon necessarily, pero yun nga, understanding ano ba yung baseline ng general science understanding, and that's where we build up from there. But I think misquoted scientists, hindi rin talaga kasalanan ng scientist yun madalas. And feeling ko this is where yung importance of training comes in. Minsan kasi nagkakamali din talaga ng report ang media. Either naghahanap ng soundbite na parang controversial, and that's why nafo-focus sa isang quote na walang context, or namamali ng edit, namamali ng cut, or namamali lang talaga ng intindi kaya mali yung pagkaka-report. And usually, ang nagfo-follow niyan, either nagagalit yung scientist sa reporter, or nagagalit yung publiko sa scientist, 'di ba? And we want to avoid that. So I think yun nga, in summary, scientists, yun nga, understanding who you're talking to, understanding yung audience nyo, involves understanding yung baseline. And be more patient. Kapag tinanong kayo ng maano niyo naman kung nangungulit lang o nagpapapansin lang yung nagtatanong. Whereas kung yung nagtatanong ay talagang genuinely, hindi ko po maintindihan pero gusto kong maintindihan. So pag ganun, ako na yung nagsasabi, habaan nyo lang po yung pasensya nyo kasi it will pay off in dividends. Yung konting time that you spend a little bit more explaining, ang laki ng payoff niyan, maniwala kayo sa akin. But yun nga, and yun nga, misquoting scientists, I think to avoid that problem, both scientists and the media could help could be helped with a bit of communication training for scientists and maybe a bit of science communication training for the media.
Ay, actually, yan din nga actually yung yung follow-up question ko kasi kapag yung usapan madalas na usapan when we talk about science communication, dapat si scientist parang simplify niya yung science na ginagawa niya. What about the other way around naman na what if yung media din i-elevate niya rin yung alam niya sa science and then mag-meet sila halfway.
Agreed. Kasi lumalabas din talaga yung tamang insights kapag tama yung tanong na tinatanong mo. That's the thing of it. I have never had any problems admitting that I'm rarely the smartest person in the room. I like it that way. I like it when I am not the smartest person in the room because there's more potential for me to learn. But when I am talking to people who are smarter than me, I make sure to learn a little bit more about what I'm going to be talking to them about. 'Di ba? So parang before I interview, kung ba mag-interview ako ng physicist, tapos pag-uusapan namin black hole, hindi ako papasok doon sa interview na wala akong alam sa black holes completely. I don't expect myself to know about black holes 24/7, but I do expect myself to read a little bit kahit the day before. Or kapag mag-interview ako tungkol sa paper, sa study, I request a copy of the study so that I can read it myself. Because that is the best way to formulate the correct questions to get good insights from your experts.
Actually, ginagawa ko din nga yan every time mag-interview ako dito. Kasi sa mga listeners, di ba, every episode may bagong paper and then syempre hindi naman ako very familiar sa lahat. So binabasa ko yun. And siguro, yung question ko lang din sa'yo, how do you prepare for that? Like, gumagamit ka din ba ng AI na, for example, ipapabasa mo to sa AI and then help you formulate those questions, simplify yung mga concepts? Ginagawa mo ba yan?
Feeling ko tong podcast episode na to magiging parang disclaimer episode kasi ang dami kong disclaimer. But eto hindi ko kinikriticize ang mga taong gumagamit ng AI tools to understand. No, plagiarism is a different thing. I hate the use of generative AI for plagiarism, but that's a different topic. For people who use, for example, ChatGPT or yung mga tools ni Google for AI to summarize or simplify, wala akong problema dyan. If it helps you understand the paper better. Personally, I don't. I avoid using AI tools but it's more of a personal stand. Aside from there are many issues surrounding AI as it is today. And I am not an expert qualified to talk about that. But my stand is that personally, in terms of my personal growth, I do not want to be reliant on a tool. I feel like the only way I can be an efficient and effective science communicator as I grow older, because I'm not growing any younger, no? And the mind will slow down, the words will start to come more slowly, I will have trouble putting sentences together. The last thing I want to do is be reliant on a crutch. And I do not want to be reliant on AI tools to help me understand a scientific paper. So I don't. Lumaki ako as a science communicator sa panahon na wala pang AI tools. Noong early 2010s, wala pang AI tools. And I intend to die as a science communicator, hindi umaasa sa AI tools. But that's not to say, of course, na demonyo ang gumagamit ng AI tools. I'm not saying that
Ah, ah.
if it helps you do your jobs properly, by all means, sige lang. Ethical AI use lang ang hinihiling ko. And siguro ang isang cautionary reminder lang is huwag kayong maging dependent sa AI tools dahil ang AI hindi siya nag-iisip. It puts
Is
together, 'di ba? It's a very fast calculator. It puts together the words that according to its training will give you the answer that you are looking for. Hindi siya nag-iisip. AI has no capacity to understand. And so kapag nag-rely ka sa AI all the time, kahit sa Google search results, tignan niyo yung AI tool ng Google, nag-iimbento
si
ng species.
Gemini, yeah,
'Di
yeah, yeah.
ba? May one time nag-search ako, it invented a mushroom species. I'm not kidding. I think I took a screenshot of it kasi hindi ako makapaniwala. Ginugol ko pa yung species na yun, it does not exist. Pero si Google AI tool, sobrang confident niya na, this species of mushroom. Parang ako, saan mo hinugot yan? Diba? And imagine if you're reliant on that kind of tool na wala na ngang capacity to think, wala pang
Mm.
accountability kasi nga hindi naman siya hindi siya organism. It doesn't think.
Ah.
So, it doesn't have any moral leaning or investment to give you the correct answer. It only wants to give you the answer that is as close to what you think is correct. So,
Ah.
use AI tools sparingly, use if you must, but do not rely on them.
Ako, share ko lang din sa audience yung paano ko siya ginagamit. Mostly sa coding kasi grabe yung AI sa coding, napakagaling niya.
Ang bilis,
Pero
no?
it's not to say na 100% ako nagre-rely sa kanya. Inaaral ko pa rin yung basic structure ng code and then ipapasa ko yun kay AI kung may gusto akong mas complicated na procedure na ipapagawa sa kanya. So ayun, paulit-ulit ko yung sinasabi dito. Ginagamit ko din siya kung naghahanap ako ng mga definitions. So kasi pag i-search mo yun sa Google, yung unang lalabas doon yung definition na bibigay ni Gemini. So in a sense, ginagamit mo na rin siya sa paghanap ng definitions. So ayun, and then summary lalo na sa mga articles na nahihirapan ako. Like for example, may episode na related sa mga antibiotics. Wala akong alam sa antibiotics. Ipapabasa ko yun kay AI. Sasabihan ko siya, bigyan mo ko ng summary and then pag may binigay ka sa akin na information, ilagay mong page number kung saan mo to nakita. Tapos
Para
i-check
ma-check
ko
ko,
yun.
tama yan. Correct yan.
Ayun, some tips on how to use AI. Ngayon naman siguro may question din ako kasi sinabi mo din na nag-i-interview ka ng mga scientists. Hingi lang din kami ng tips on how to interview also yung mga scientists. Kasi dati may napanood ako na may YouTube playlist si Cara David na on how to do interviews. Tapos isa sa yung tumatak talaga sa akin doon, yung sinabi niya na go back to the 5 W's, parang ganun yung who, what, where, when, why. Ikaw ba may sinusundan ka na technique on how to do interviews sa mga scientists?
Ako, yes, may mga best practices, yung mga common nga, yung 5 W's, yung ako start with the why, yung understand yung pinaka what the point of the topic is, or kumbaga wag mong sayangin yung oras ng scientist by asking things na parang kang wala kang alam, wala kang total zero familiarity with yan. That's one good practice of interviewing scientists. Ako, don't be medyo medyo mas on the mas on the side of things na don't be afraid to look dumb. Kung from the interviewer, don't be afraid to look dumb in front of the scientist, because the scientist doesn't expect you to be an expert. The scientist is the expert in this conversation. So any question that is asked in good faith is by default not a stupid question. Alam mo naman nga yung mga tao nagtatanong lang para magsayang ng oras or para lang to get a soundbite na controversial. Pero kung ang tanong ay talagang nasa yung parang 2 layers or 3 layers na hindi talaga kasi maintindihan, so kailangan simplihan, okay lang yun. Okay lang magtanong ng ganun. Yung ma'am or sir, can you explain this concept further? You mentioned this concept kanina when you're explaining. Can you give an example? Isa pa, one thing na I like to ask noon, I don't know if I asked you this nung when dun sa Ask Theory, but one thing I like to ask yung mga interviewees ko is, how will you explain this concept to your grandmother? So parang,
Ah.
'di ba, yung para
Hmm.
siyang fun na mental exercise na parang
Ah.
unless your grandmother is also a scientist, what are the odds naman, 'di ba?
Ah,
Pero
ah.
yung someone na has yung sinasabi kong baseline understanding of basic science, someone who has no reason to become an expert in science, but pero gusto mo ipaintindi sa kanya kung ano yung ginagawa mo. Paano mo i-explain sa kanya itong konseptong 'to? Imagine you are talking to your grandmother, or alternately, how do you explain this to a 9-year-old?
Hmm.
Gano'n. So i-frame mo in a way na kung kausap nila directly yung audience, how would they say it? Magandang exercise yan for scientists para makakasa sila sa pag-explain. And I think one more tip, hindi na to sa interviewing pero on the whole na mismo, I think we should have more workshops where the scientists and the media meet. Yung parang
Hmm.
mga meeting the media or meeting the scientists. And then you have workshops talaga, like activities where scientists are given questions, and then and then at the end of the workshop i-assess, parang ito yung feedback, so paano ba i-assess yung nagtanong, i-assess yung journalist, and then i-assess din yung scientist paano niya sinagot. I think having more trainings like that would ultimately help us all become better at understanding each other. Ayun.
Oo nga, actually interesting nga na na-bring up mo yan kasi ako 'pag pinapakinggan ko din yung mga recordings ko, may mga moments na, "Ay hindi ko natanong yung ganitong
Mhm.
question. Dapat naisip ko 'to agad at tinanong ko yung mga ganitong klaseng question." At may mga moments na, ay hindi ko na direct ng maayos yung ano, yung usapan na napunta kami kung saan-saan.
Oo, kasi napasaya yung kuwentuhan, 'di ba? Oo,
Oo.
so
So, 'pag gano'n ba, may mare-recommend ka ba na are there any free resources sa mga gano'n? Like for example sa side ng scientist kung gusto niya, mag-explain ng science niya in a more simple way, may reference ba na puwede niyang basahin on how to do that?
okay. Kung pagbabasa, my suggestion is to read mga science articles. It seems cliche, but I really think that the best way you can become a good communicator is to keep reading. There's nothing wrong with learning from the work of other people. Whether you're a science journalist or a scientist, magbasa ng mga science articles, lalong-lalo na yung mga National Geographic, yung sa The Atlantic. Siyempre, pa-plug ko na rin yung Nautilus. I work for
Ah.
Nautilus, but even if I didn't work for Nautilus magazine, it's a US based magazine. Their science articles are very insightful and very very well written. Sometimes they even invite scientists to write for them. I think yun yung crucial doon. Nautilus sometimes has scientists who write about their work doon. So if you can visit yung Nautilus magazine, Nautilus website, you can see some of the articles that scientists themselves wrote, and you can see yung mga the styles, the storytelling styles, the way they make examples na parang ang galing ang simple pala. Ang
Hmm.
simple pala ng pagkakapaliwanag niya ng complicated na thing na to. Kung learner ka na mas audiovisual, maraming mga science channels on YouTube that you can like just tune in. Like for example, si Physics Girl. Si Physics Girl is one of my favorites, and
Ah.
she had long COVID, no? And
Ay
just
pero gumaling na ba siya?
Oo, hindi pa siya completely recovered, but I think just a few days ago she came out with her first video in 3 years.
Ah, meron
And
na, okey.
nakaupo lang siya sa bed niya, but she was just geeking out about a space related topic. I invite you guys to listen to that, to watch that episode. Pero ang ganda kasi parang ang title pa niya is My First Science Video in 3 Years. Ayan, ang galing si Physics Girl, magaling siya
Hmm.
mag-explain ng science. Si Kyle Hill is another
Yun,
favorite
yun.
science
Yeah, yeah.
communicator of mine. Dati siyang because science pero naging independent na siya. He's just Kyle Hill now. Si Hank Green is another good one.
Yeah.
'Di ba? So
S
ang
si
dami.
ano yung babae, yung Huge If True, yung dati
Ayan.
sa Vox dati.
Yeah,
Ay,
oo.
nakalimutan
And
yung pangalan niya.
and local creator natin si Celine Murillo.
Yes,
Highly
yes.
recommended. Ang galing niya mag-explain ng local biodiversity. Silang dalawa team sila husband and wife, si Celine and si
Mm.
Dennis. Dennis is more on the behind the scenes, the camera and stuff. And si Celine yung talagang on cam. But and yung the depth of the scientific discussion, but the way and at the same time the way she's able to explain it in such a very relatable manner. And ang gaganda rin nung shots nung videos nila. Like, I think you guys, kahit hindi kayo, listeners out there na hindi naman life sciences or hindi biodiversity ang expertise, I think there's still a lot that you can learn from watching yung mga videos ni Celine. So, that's really good. Gusto ko sanang sabihin din na yung mga gumagawa ng medical content on TikTok, and I'm really happy na maraming doktor na nagko-communicate ng because let's admit it, mataas ang distrust ng public sa doctors. Ang hindi ko lang gusto is recently I've observed a trend in not all, but many medical science communicators na nagpo-promote ng products or masyado nagfo-focus on sex topics. And I think
Yes.
medyo, 'di ba, in the process, you're creating very engaging content, but the meaning is kind of lost now. And so sa ngayon medyo, kasi meron akong mga dating pinapanood na parang napapansin ko ngayon yung trend, so I cannot in good faith recommend them anymore. But I will tell you guys na, ayun nga, learn from the content that other communicators have put out. And as scientists, may makita kayo dyan of value about how you can explain your science in a simpler way.
Ngayong na-mention mo yung mga medical topics, isa din yan sa napapansin ko na karamihan ng mga science content na science-related na content creators sa social media ay related mostly sa madaming mga doktor na nasa social media, and siguro mga lawyers. Yun yung dalawang fields na yun yung nakikita ko na madaming tawag doon? Content
Social media
creators.
presence, oo.
Ayun, no. Pero yung ibang fields like yung chemistry, biology, ayun nga, yung
Underrepresented.
physics, kakaunti lang. So, I think madaming opportunities, I think, madaming opportunities for growth ng science communication field.
Yes.
Balikan ko din siguro yung sinabi mo kanina na yung science communication, it's more of communicating dun sa audience mo, at yung audience mo yung sa Ask Theory, yung audience mo ay more on high school.
High school, college, mga bata, mga young
Tapos
adult.
ang interesting na bring up yan kasi dito, yung majority ng audience namin ay 28 to 35. So pakiramdam ko mga graduate students din itong mga nakikinig sa amin.
Oo. And that's good. For me, that's good kasi kung graduate students yan, natututo rin silang mag-communicate ng science by listening to you and your guests. That's really good.
Pero din siya anong bang tawag? Bell curve din siya na dun yung peak sa 28 to 35, tapos
Oo.
So I think nakukuha namin lahat ng age group. So yeah. Ayun, so nakakaisang oras na rin tayo. Masaya, nakakatuwing usapan, and of course I'm sure na hindi ito yung last na collaboration
I
namin
hope so.
with Ask Theory. At hindi ko pala nasabi kanina, although nabanggit na rin ni Mikael na nag-guest ako dati sa Ask Theory. So pwede niyo yung panoorin. I think yung title ay sa Geophysics. Nandun yung keyword na Geophysics, I think. Tapos yun, I think first year yun ng PhD ko. So yeah, pwede nyo balikan yun, yung episode na yun.
Okay. Actually sabihin ko na, I think ang title is Paano na pag-aaralan ang lindol sa tulong ng dagat.
Yun, yeah. Kasi yung research area ko ay mga active falls sa ilalim ng dagat. So pwede nyong bisitahin yun for anyone interested na sa topic na yun. So ayun, since 1 hour na tayo, I think mag-wrap up na rin tayo. Mikael, siguro can you give lang advice sa mga aspiring din na science communicators na siguro hindi natin nabanggit kanina, and also promotion na rin, saan ka ma-follow ng mga audience natin dito?
Okay. So again, maraming salamat for letting me be on your podcast. Sobrang tuwang-tuwa ako na that you guys exist. Tuwang-tuwa ako that
Thank
there
you,
are
thank
more
you.
science communicators now than there were 10 to 15 years ago. I'm just so happy and I hope that the growth continues. If you guys want to check out flipscience.ph, that's the URL of the website. We have a Facebook page, Flip Science. Ask Theory Podcast does not have a dedicated social media account. So if you want to check out past episodes of the Ask Theory Podcast, you can check it out on Spotify or on your other popular podcasting platforms. Nasa Apple Podcast siya, may Google Podcasts pa ba? I don't even
Wala na,
parang
naging
wala
YouTube
eh,
na
no?
siya.
Oo. So but yung mga the typical places where you listen to podcasts, but mostly Spotify. Ayun, and we also have a Twitter account, X account.
Next.
Thanks Elon Musk. X. Flip Science PH. Ayun. Now, you can forget about everything that I said dun sa buong episode na to. Kung wala kayong ma-pick up dito sa episode na to, sa lahat ng kadaldalan ko, okay lang. But I want you to remember this one thing, no? Whether you're a scientist, a journalist, or neither, and you want to communicate science, iisang bagay lang ang kailangan yung tandaan. Aim to make your audience smarter, not to make yourself look smarter. That's all you need to follow because everything follows after that. If you want to make your audience smarter, e-effortan nyo na magpaliwanag ng tama. E-effortan nyo na kumausap sa mga tamang tao para makapagpaliwanag kayo ng tama. Dadagdagan nyo yung effort nyo to make really good content. Hindi yung waso-waso lang na mailagay lang dyan. E-effortan nyo na ang sabihin nyo sa kanila ay nakabase sa ebidensya at sa katotohanan. Hindi kayo mag-iimbento lang ng mga bagay na kalokohan, kagaya ng karamihan ng ginagawa ng mga ibang content creators sa panahon ngayon para lang makapag-mislead at makapang-uto ng mga nakikinig sa kanila. If you want to make your audience smarter, you will care about the kind of content that you will make. If your goal is not to show everyone how smart you are, you will be able to make quality content. And if your goal is just to show the world how good you are, please do not enter science communication. Yun lang. Yun lang. If you want to communicate science, mag-reflect ka at bakit ko ba ito ginagawa? And kung feeling mo nasa tamang landas ka, gagawin ko to dahil gusto ko talagang umayos ang buhay ng kapwa ko. Gusto kong maintindihan nila ang siyensya. Mahalin nila ang siyensya kagaya ng pagmamahal ko sa kanya. Please, go ahead. I'll wait for your science podcast. I'll wait for your science website. And I will be one of your first followers.
Ang gandang clip nun, gagawan kayo ng reel. Kasi, ayun, lumalawak din actually yung napa-extend yung kwentuhan. But anyway, siguro yung magandang part lang din na video yung podcast natin. Nagagawan ko ng reel yung mga ganitong moments. Tsaka mas madami siyang views compared sa full episode. So, ayun lang. Gagawan ko ng clip yan.
Thank you. I'm glad.
So, ayun, I guess hanggang dito na lang muna tayo. Maraming salamat kay Mikael sa pagpapa-unlock ng aming imbitasyon.
Maraming salamat din.
At maraming salamat sa lahat ng nakinig at nanood. See you everyone next week. Madami pa tayong pag-uusapan na science topics dito sa podcast.
The opinions of podcast creators, hosts, and guests are not necessarily reflective of the official stance of the Pod Network Entertainment, its hosts, or other network programs. The content created by the people behind the podcast is personal and not meant to harm any religion, ethnicity, group, organization, company, or individual.